second scan count. 15, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Start. 2, 1. Boost ignition and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space station, paving the way for future missions and beyond.
Okay guys, so let's have a look in the back. I'm going to do a bit of a summary here of what happened, because there was a whole sequence of things that occurred, and ultimately it should have been just in the sound section here. I've got the sound section here on this System 9 board, and it's the amplifier on here which got a heatsink on it. That was suspected to be faulty, and sort of made sense if it was overheating and then obviously cutting out and then would come back to life after it cooled down. So Joey swapped that out, and then he swapped in some of these capacitors. Always a good thing to swap those in. Of course, we've got the little daughter board over here with the speech ROMs on here, and just so for you guys that don't know, it's got a little pan pot on there, and you can pan between the speech sounds on the ROM. On these ROMs. There's also another ROM on here which has another one of the part of the speech sounds, but the majority is here. And that little pan pot here switches between speech and normal sound. So sometimes if you haven't got speech, or haven't got sound, perhaps check that pot. Might be panned all the way to one side. So anyway, we got that amplifier swapped out. Got the board back in and with those new caps, and I was expecting it to work, guys, but it didn't. And then we had this sequence of really bizarre events. So the first time it had locked up, and then I think Joey swapped out this RAM here, I think, for the settings, and he swapped that one out, and I'm not sure what else. I think he swapped out a couple of other chips, but then it came back, and then I had the problem where it was working. Well, it wasn't working, it wasn't playing still. We were in a track mode. And then one of these solenoids for the ramp raise heat shield started burning out. So I was like, what the hell is going on here? I was like, we're just fixing the sound, guys, and now we're getting deeper into problems. So the solenoid burnt out, so I ended up bypassing that, had another chat with Joey, and he was suspecting, look, maybe it's one of the microprocessors that need to be changed over, and he didn't have any at the time. It actually went back and forth a couple of times there, but he didn't have the chips to swap in for the CPUs. I think it's these two Motorola chips here. Anyway, he ordered those in, guys, and we got them swapped in. And when I got the machine back, something really, really bizarre happened at this juncture. So we had all the lighting come up, the attract lighting, the GI, but for some reason all the digits, when in settings, the digits would just scroll in every setting that you're trying to do a setting, or trying to change a setting, it would just scroll rapidly. I didn't know what the hell was going on with that. So that I was trying to sort of resolve that, because I couldn't start a game, it wouldn't credit up. Not with a manual credit, and of course I couldn't change it in the settings because the settings keep rolling over automatically, so I couldn't select it to free play. So anyway, while I was doing that, guys, then this is the weird thing happened. Then we blew up. This little guy here just started smoking away, and impacted this one here as well, and I think maybe these two here were affected. And guys, this just was really bizarre. This is on the speech board, and there was nothing else. Everything else was okay. Just this started going up in smoke. So I was like, what? And this still perplexes me to this day what actually happened here. And I can, only sort of work through what we did in terms of getting it fixed and try and guess to what may have happened. So anyway, once that happened, I discussed it with Joey, and he too was really perplexed with it. And I thought, geez, I hope you can fix this, because these were really mangled. So anyway, he fixed those up, and I said to him, listen, I think it's about time we shotgun the power supply And to be honest, guys, no, I hadn't multimetered it. And again, there was no reason to, because remember, everything was working when I bought it as a working game. And that's the thing that got me tripped up, I think. But I thought, well, here's the junction. We've got some weird stuff going on here, especially with the other solenoid going out under the table. I mean, it made no sense. Of course, when the solenoid went out under the table, that blew, you know, one of the transistors. I think up here, actually. Yeah, one of these transistors. So that had to be replaced. So I thought, nah, let's get all this shotgun out. So we swapped out all these caps. I gave him all the boards. He checked out everything. He got those, we had the new processors. So yeah, all that was sort of shotgunned, and I bought it back, plugged it in, and it all came up and it worked. And I was like, okay, cool. But there was still a problem. I still couldn't start the game. I still couldn't put a credit in, and I still had this problem with the numbers incrementing. So now everything was stable. We had no smoke, so that was good, but we still couldn't start the game. So anyway, back to Joey's it went. This has happened, guys, over the last 3 weeks, or last 4 weeks actually. And he traced it back on the schematics. I think it was 1 or 2 of the PIA chips. He ended up socketing because they weren't socketed. So I think it was this one and this one, and also this one up here. So all of those had to be changed. I think it's only one of those that's responsible for like the start button and the advance and so forth, and that effectively what was causing it. In fact, Joey showed me, he put one of the PIA chips in his little tester machine, and it showed that it should have a certain pattern of high, low and so forth on the pins, and he had a completely different pattern showing. Quite a good way of testing. And again, look, if I had a logic probe, or if I had one of those testers at home, and of course if the chips were socketed, I could actually remove the chips and do that sort of testing myself, or use a logic probe on here and actually have seen those high lows incorrectly. But guys, all of that takes time. It takes a lot of knowledge. And even though I'm happy to learn as I go through, I sort of, at the moment, I'm just learning enough to sort of understand what might be going wrong when something goes wrong. I'm not getting into the whole fixing up things myself. I just make a mess of the board, I think. My soldering skills aren't that great, and I'm not going to, you know, desolder chips and get sockets in and stuff. And I know it's not that difficult for some of you guys out there, but just for me, it's not my thing right now. It just takes a hell of a lot of time. So I'm happy for Joey to do this stuff for me. I'm happy to learn about it and sort of understand where problems might be when I get machines. And of course, I'm also constantly learning, was there better ways of testing machines, especially these old machines when you get them back home. Perhaps there's some better checks I should always do to prevent this from happening in the future. But I do feel, guys, it's just been such a one-off. I mean, how would you know? Especially with this flaring up and stuff. It just made no sense. So anyway, the PIA chips went in, guys, and that was it. We came back and the machine was 100% working, except for, of course, the solenoid for the ramp raises, the heat shield ramp, which needs to be replaced at a later date. So guys, so anyway, that's a pretty long story. But I think it's useful to sort of know. I mean, obviously we've got all the fuses and stuff, but that didn't even come into play, except I did blow a fuse when the first solenoid went out. So that was the only fuse that blew that I had to change. But again, yeah, guys, I don't know. And the batteries were changed over on the way through. This actually was loose and came off at one point, so that was resoldered. I suspect, I don't think it had anything to do with that. I suspect that there was some glitchy power problems here, guys. And the fact is that this board has had all its headers done, not the connectors, but all the headers were already done on this board. I just suspect that this has had a lot of issues, and it's probably been power related. They were all the original caps on that power supply. And we're talking, you know, over 30 years old, guys. These things don't have a shelf life that long. So anything could have happened, I don't know. And I think when we actually blew these chips up here, I think that caused a chain reaction of blowing up the PIA chips on the way through, and maybe even the processors that caused the other problems. It was just really difficult to see because obviously the game was partially working. It just made it really difficult to diagnose, guys. So anyway, look, hopefully you got something out of that. Again, I'm no expert on this. I'm just sharing what I know through this journey going through. Sure as hell was an interesting one. But since then, it's rock solid, guys. Been playing beautifully.